We all know that there are different types of families. We have Christian family, we have Muslim family, we have Buddhist, all types of family and in different forms. And families are influenced by economy, political, and other situations. But over the centuries, the Christian family remained very unique. But it's very important for us to know what a Christian family look like. Because this society is built on family. Without a family, there's no society. And family itself is built on the institution of marriage. And marriage sometimes or family tends to misfunction, or what you call dysfunctional. And when you talk about family, there are different components that make a family. We have the father, we have the mother, we have children, but we have issues also in the family. We have joy, happiness, despair, death. All kinds of things happen in a Christian family. So the intention of this symposium is to take a critical look at a Christian family. Look at the issues that affect the family in present day and see how we are falling out of line with the intention of God when He instituted marriage. We reach out to you as audience and ask you questions. We sent a survey out. We wanted to know what you would like to see or hear today. And we thank God that you responded very well. Of the 49 responses that we got, we had about 111 questions. Those questions were aggregated and it formed the basis of the panel discussion we will have this afternoon. We don't want to bore you with the regular stuff you've been hearing, so we want to make it conversational so that you can have a lot of things to take home. This is the beginning of more of these events to happen in this region. And we sincerely hope that your coming here today will not be in vain. Amen. We thank you. Make sure you register because we have goodies to give at some point. We will not tell you. There are two requirements. You must be present and you must be registered. We bought a little wheel of fortune here. You actually got a visionary under whose this type of program takes place. It's a man. Let me pause as I welcome to our niece, our grand patron, our daddy, Venerable Superior Evangelist Anthony Ileri. You are welcome, Daddy. Going back to the visionary of these events, our one and only Father, who has grown these dioceses to a level that can actually rival any church that has been in existence. Venerable Superior Evangelist Joseph Olorun Ishola. Can you go to the next slide? I didn't know the slide is up. Just one more. All right, so we've gone through the introduction, and without much ado, I will hand over. I'm going to introduce reintroduce the old shepherd. Shepherd, can you face the camera?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Before we started, we knock on the door. We say, Ekulesa. Thank you for welcoming us and agree to host us in a very big way. So I won't waste time. I will go into the introduction of the moderators. Can you go to the next slide? Oh no, let's go through the agenda first. We already started with the praise worship. I can't see without my glasses. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. We are going to the survey. We will skip for now. We'll come back to it in order to catch up with time. The survey, if we are not able to give it to you full, we will make sure you get it. We have your information. We will email it to you. So let us compress time for now. So the first panel, we will, from 12:15 to 1:15, we're supposed to welcome our first panel, which is going to be moderated by late Senior Elder Sister Ijeoma Moro. They will focus on contemporary leadership, challenges and outlook. You know, in the days we live in, nothing is guaranteed, nothing can be taken for granted. So what is happening to the Christian family? They will try to lay the foundation for the second panel that will come in the afternoon. And then around 1:15, we'll have a Q&A from the audience to the panel for about 10 minutes. Then there will be a presentation. I'll get to the name later. Around 1:35 to 1:55, we'll break for lunch at 1:55 and we'll resume again at 2:20 p.m. When we come back, we'll go through many afflictions of marriage. There will be a 6-member panel that will look into this conversational issue that revolve around the affliction of marriage. They will look into the social expectations, the cultural challenges, and all those obstacles that make it very, very difficult for a Christian family. Again, we'll have a Q&A. Please, if you have any question, you will see me walking around. You can signify your intention. We'll listen to you, help you make it concise, and then you ask your question. Everything is time limited, so don't sing any song. Go straight to your point, and thank you. Then at 4:05, we'll have a presentation by our one and only VMSC Dami Olorunishola. After that, there will be our Father in the Lord, Superior Evangelist Shueton. We moderated the general question, mostly from the audience. If there's anything that any panel missed, it will be an opportunity for you to ask that question. You will ask some questions and you can ask your own question. You can pose it to any of the panelists. And at exactly 5 o'clock, our Father will take a critical look and break it down for us, his observations and recommendations on the way to go. And at 5:30, there will be a revival. 5:50, the vote of thanks, and there is something we will do is called the Pillar or the Family Award. Towards the end, that award will be given by our fathers, but we won't tell you who is receiving it. Maybe an individual, somebody who registered early, who came early, but we are not telling you. The requirement for you to get all these gifts and goodies is that you must be seated, you must be registered. If we call you, if you check the register, you are not there, that gift to be taken back. Without much ado, can we now bring to the front Liz Senior Elder Sister Ijoma Mao. She will introduce our panelists. Thank you.
Hallelujah. 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 Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Family Symposium. And without further ado, we will go into the introduction for the panel that will be taking on the topic of contemporary relationship challenges and outlook. So panel members, as I introduce you, please proceed over to the high table. So the first panel member is a young man who considers himself to be an aspiring philosopher, theologian, with an unbridled passion for music and a cunning for the tempered filigree of the piano. He is the lead pianist at the CCC Voice of Grace. Let us welcome Michael Oluwa.
I did it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Our next panel member is an educator, a mentor, and a Jesus enthusiast who loves a good book, a cup of tea, when she isn't watching a good Nollywood movie. Let us welcome Sister Rachel Popola to the panel. Our next panel member has a voice that sings with the angels. Her passion is music, particularly the spiritual classical hymns and songs of the Celestial Church of Christ, to which she regularly lends herself in worship as a chorister. Above all, she longs to be a disciple of Christ and continues to fight for the honor of the Lord in Celestial Church of Christ. Please join me to welcome Sister Bukola Solaja. Our next panel member is a member of Rhode Island Parish. He is a devoted husband and father of 2 boys and gives himself to the Lord even as he loves to spend time with his family. Join me in welcoming Brother Jide Otele. Our next panel member is married with 3 kids, and he worships at Celestial Church of Christ, Heart of God Parish, and he has been married for 10 years. Please join me to welcome Oluwa Femi Taiwo. And we do have another family member. I'm just not sure if he is here yet. He's not here.
Almost he can announce his name.
Okay, so Michael Kobina Mawusi is a loving husband to a gorgeous queen, Mother Celestial Olujoke Mawusi, a father of 3 great boys, and a baptized members of Celestial Church of Christ since 1974. And he is not here yet, so when he does come, is he allowed? Okay, he will join us at the panel. Welcome, panel members. Can you give the panel members another round of applause? Okay. Okay, so welcome, panel members. We do have a series of questions for you today. The questions are timed, and they're open, so I'm not going to call any one person's name. So as you feel led to respond to the question, go ahead and jump in. So the first question, what is your general outlook on the state of relationships today in your experience and observation? And this is just general outlook on relationships, period. Is it positive? Is it optimistic? Is it bleak? Is it petrifying? Is it shocking? And why do you think it is that way?
I think what I would like to say about that is that the state of relationships today, when you look at the way that relationships are being handled, there are, because of technology and how things have improved with the internet, with communication, it is easy to connect with anyone, anywhere, in any way, right? So through those means, it's easier to meet people, but also it makes it more difficult now because when you're looking at the way that relationships are being framed by media, society, all of these things, it's easy to be in pursuit of something that the world has told you it's okay, or the image of what a relationship should look like to you, and you can easily get lost in relationship after relationship that fulfills the needs of what you see on TV and what you see in the world, but doesn't fulfill whatever deep desire that, you know, whether God placed on your heart or the deep desire that you need to desire to see filled. But those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Yes, the issues we have in relationships now is really getting out of hand because as we've known, most relationships now are just based on how they handle each other, trust, compassion, and all these things are no more there because, as my partner said, another thing that's really happening that is causing issues in relationships now is the social media. It's really having an effect on relationships now. Most of these relationships now have breakups because of internet issues, Facebook, Instagrams, and all that. We can't compare this to our parents, how they started their relationship. They really don't know who they have. We tried to emulate them, but we couldn't even make it up to them. Now we have issues of couples just breaking up within months or few seconds. I was watching about this Laura Ikeji that had a wedding or something, and she had like 200 bridesmaids. And someone was saying on Facebook that, oh, this relationship not go last safe. It not go past 3 months. And I was like, why? And they're like, that's what's really happening now, especially celebrity marriages. So the issue about relationships, it's really getting out of hands, and we really need to God first in everything. Before a relationship can stand strong, God has to really be involved in it. We know misunderstandings and all that, but my best opinion is just that I feel before we could get a good relationship, we just need to be prayerful, and that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to question number 2. So being that we are Celestians, what is the outlook of relationships within Celestial Church of Christ in particular? And why do you believe it is, or how do you believe it should be? And if someone who hasn't spoken can speak on that.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I believe for Celestia, depending on where you are and what country you are, it depends on that. That is basically what it depends on for the most part. There are places where you go to and the relationship is strong, and there are people intermarrying in the church, and we have that growing. But then when you come to the US, it's a little bit tough. And I do believe that we can make it better, and there's a lot of room for improvement. But I believe by the end of this forum, we'll be able to get more answers and solutions to that.
Amen. Thank you.
whole lot better than what it is right now. It's not enough to say, oh, you like somebody, he's a Celestian, he wears sutana. You have to go a little bit more deeper. See that this person is actually saved, that they have Christ in their life, because it's one thing to be partners and we attend the same church, we sing together. It's a different thing when you get home. What is their character? What's inside of them? What do they stand for? What kind of integrity do they have? Are they the type of people that actually rubbish the church outside? You know, so you have to look, you know, really deep within who that person is. Are they actually a child of God, or they're just going to church? So I think we have a lot of work to do within the youth and putting out a better image for celestial marriages. Some people don't even think we celebrate or do weddings or marriages in this church, so we have a lot of work to do concerning, you know, outlook of relationships.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to question number 3. How much does culture or tradition, the expectations or demands of your parents, family, or even church, and the expectations of your social circle, how much do they play in your approach or in your decisions about whom to date or whom to marry? To fine-tune that a little bit, do you feel particularly that in the African culture, that parents and traditions place a burden on singles as it concerns when to marry, who to marry, and who not to marry?
Being a Sunday school teacher is always interesting, hearing kids and their concerns. I believe the parents, we need to do a better job of understanding the children that we have and understanding really what relationship should be. Sometimes we force that love upon the children, and in doing so, what do we cause? We cause problems without us knowing it. We need to step back and listen to those children and see why they want who they want. In some cases, it's justified that who they want is not right, because mommies and daddy have been there and they understand. And in some cases, it's actually the children that are right. But because we're not listening, we end up forcing something upon those children, and that causes more problem. So marriage should always be seen from, not just from the parent, but for the person that will be in that marriage. Because if that marriage breaks or something happens in that marriage, guess what? That child is going to come back and blame you for what you put them through. So we need to really pay attention and really think about this issue of marriage before we tell our children, go bring a husband, because they will bring one from the pressure, but the person they are bringing might become a problem for the whole family. So imagine the person you love, your child brings the person home, and after a while your child stops talking to you. Who do you blame? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, the pressure the parents put on the children are really making them to, because we get to see that most kids have their parents' pressure. They get to marry someone they don't even love. They get to marry someone they don't even have these feelings for. Then at the long run, it affects the child himself. So I feel parents should just please let the kids, let them just do whatsoever they want. We know they are our parents, they know best. But now you see parents telling you, hey, you shouldn't marry from that tribe. Hey, you shouldn't marry that lady. Hey, you shouldn't marry. I've had experiences of someone that they had to tell her not to marry from the eastern side because I think their bride price was too much or something. And yes, and because he's a Yoruba guy, and the parents were like, les son 10 million, no good. So, and this really affected the guy, which he had to go marry someone else, which at the long run they had to break up. So I feel the parents should please try and understand their children, try and understand their feelings of what they want to go into, because marriage is a thing of lifetime. That's all I have to say.
We'll take one more short answer. Thank you for that.
So just one quick answer, because I know time is precious. I think one thing to buttress what a couple of our brothers here said is there has to be a relationship between the parents and the children so that the children are willing to listen, and both the parents are also willing to listen. If you bring someone home and it feels like they're not embraced, like, oh, I'm going to shut them aside because they're Oyinbo or they're whatever, then the child's already closed you off, right? Because you haven't given a Christian reason, a reason based on Christ, a reason based on faith, but you've only brought culture to it. And when the child doesn't feel tied into that culture completely, then they've already shut down, right? So I think there has to be an embrace and a conversation that really takes place there, so.
Thank you. Question number 4. Finding your life partner is the whole point of marriage. Having said that, how does one go about it? For instance, how do you know you have found the bone of your bone and the flesh of your flesh, especially given the troubles that ensued for both Adam and Eve after God brought them together, and Adam pointed the finger at Eve and said it was the flesh of his flesh that made him sin? So how do you know that you have found the bone of your bone and the flesh of your flesh, and what's the criteria for finding the bone of your bone and the flesh of your flesh?
I would say there's no one criteria. Everybody, the way they found their spouse is different. The story is going to be different for every person. But I will say that if you feel like you found your partner, your right spouse, I feel like there should be a peace that you have within. No matter the storms, no matter the troubles, no matter if he or she has an attitude today, you still have peace that the love is genuine, the love is there, that you are still willing to do whatever for this person. The things get tricky when it comes to, looking for different confirmations for prophecy, but I feel like when you have a relationship with God, He will be able to tell you and show you different ways and confirm over and over, this is the person for you. If you rely on people to tell you, oh, that's your husband, that's your wife, that's where you get confused. And that's where you look for, prophecy trying to sustain your marriage, and that's not enough. So I feel like when you have that relationship with God, you can connect to Him. You're not confused. You're not always having second thoughts. So the only thing I can say is that if you're close to God, that He will be the one to confirm for you that this is the right person in your house. This is, what He has for you.
The one question I would always ask is, who are you? So, when I was 15 years old, there was a man that used to work for my auntie. He was helping her do printing press. And this man, when you look at him, is a very nice man, but he wasn't very much good looking. I know I'm not that cute myself, but he wasn't much good looking. So I looked at him, and one day he came to visit, and he's like, oh, my wife is coming. I'm like, oh, uncle, I can't wait to see your wife and all that. When I, a 14-year-old kid, saw his wife, I couldn't close my mouth. She was extremely beautiful. And I looked at him, and I looked at her, and I couldn't understand why. And so, after that, I asked uncle, I said, uncle, how did this happen? And he started laughing because he knew I'm always frank with him. He said, Elijah, I started praying for my wife when I was 15. He said, I wasn't looking for a wife, but I was praying to get my wife since I was 15. And he said, all you have to do is, number one, you have to know who you are. So what did I do? I went back home, I sat down, I thought about who I am, my nature, the kind of person I am, my personality. And I kind of wrote them down, my likes, my dislike. Things I can accept even though I dislike them, and things I can never tolerate. And I started praying because I said 14, so 15, I started praying. And to tell you the honest truth, since this is an open forum, right? I was not going to marry a Nigerian. I don't know why. I was in Nigeria, I was never brought to the Western world, but for some reason I was not going to marry a Nigerian, but I didn't tell my dad. He's hearing it for the first time. So when I got to the US, my dad started talking and all that. And I don't know why it happened. I went to church, and she did not greet me. She did not say hi to me. She just walked away as if I was not even existing. And I said, that is her. And after I said that is her, I spent 2 or 3 months just watching and looking. Nothing else. Didn't talk to her much, just watching and looking. Is this what I wanted? And after that, I moved forward and went to a house, look at the family. Is this the family I'll be comfortable with? After all these boxes were checked off, and my own personality, I realized it can be, is in line with hers. I realized, yes, I can move forward. And to God be the glory, it's been 8 years. So what I want to say is, honestly, the first thing is, please look within yourself. Who are you? Because if you don't know who you are, you will not know what your relationship will end up being. So do your own research, find yourself first, and it might be easier for you to find your own partner.
Thank you so much. And your comment actually enables me to segue into the part B and C of this same question. So what impact do you think that personality differences truly have on relationships, ultimately on your marriage? And in that context, is it possible that your choice for an ideal mate differs from God's choice for you? How do you reconcile the two?
I don't think you have to reconcile something that God doesn't have for you. So if God doesn't want you to have it, it's in your best interest and probably the other person's that you guys stay away from each other.
Yeah, I think that the reconciliation doesn't need to take place if God is called into the situation first. But the thing that I think is toughest is that what God wants for you might not be what you want for yourself. Like, just as a quick note here, reading the story of Leah, like, how was it that when you saw that Jacob was looking for a wife, that he said that he looked upon Rachel more favorably, right? And Leah was the one who was blessed with the 4 children, Judah being the last of which, who, led to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm not saying that God wanted Leah over Rachel for him, but I think that there's situations like that we have to be wary of, because sometimes when we ask God to give us what he wants for us, it might not be what we desire, and I think that is a tough thing for people to swallow.
I do believe that when you talk about, again, it's all about relationships. So when you talk about this and you look at it and you say, okay, how do I know what God wants from me? It's very difficult. And I don't think there's one answer to really answer it. However, I do believe that for you to really hear the voice of the Lord in your life, you've got to be still and calm. And again, we always forget that because we look for God in a place that is not. So in your relationship, pray. But when we pray, even though we say that we're not putting that in our head, honestly, most of us have that at the back of our head as we're praying. And if somebody that God brings for you doesn't fit your criteria, you will not move forward with that person. So what am I trying to say? You really need to take everything you've believed that is your ideal person and take it to the back burner and ask God for what God really wants for you in a relationship. Because if not, you will keep going with what you think is right. So listen to that voice first and not have a preconceived notion. Unfortunately, it is very difficult because we're human not to have a preconceived notion. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I feel what most times what we want, they don't really come up to us because when I was still young, I was like, hey, I just really want to marry someone that's chubby, someone that has very good assets, someone that is, a little bit more, But on the long run, God just gave me my wife, and she's so slim. And I was like, so I finally ended up to marry this lady. But I thank God she's the best. I'm so happy that I have her as a wife, and she has always been there for me through the bad times, good times. But the issue, what I'm trying to say is that I was like, oh, when I see a lady that's chubby, has this front and back, I'm like, God, this is what I want. This is what I want. So I feel personality doesn't really, it depends on what God, I just feel it depends on what God wants for you. And if God really gives you something, it will be the best for you.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Okay, next question. And this one can benefit for those of you who are singles out in the audience, especially our young singles, the waiting period for a Christian single may be fraught with many afflictions: loneliness, longing, sexual urges, pressure from family, direct or indirect pressure from friends who are getting married and starting families, and then there's the pressure from everything you see on social media. So how does a Christian single deal with these afflictions in today's society? And the part B of that is, how should a Christian single deal with these afflictions in today's society?
So if I may for a moment speak directly to the females in regards to urges and longing. The very transparent and honest answer is that having those desires is not sin, right? It's not bad that you feel what you feel, that your body reacts to stimuli. What may lead to sin is what you do when you have those feelings and those urges. And what I've learned is to pray and read the Word of God. I've also learned about the period tracker app. So if you have a smartphone, the period tracker app, I want to go over time, but please permit it. It'll show you, once you log your periods, it'll show you your fertile days and the days that you are ovulating. For all my females, you know when you come on your cycle, there's like a certain period of time when you are in heat. Like, you're laughing because you know it's true. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. You could hump a wall. Like, it's ridiculous how intense it is. So what you do when you start tracking it, after about 3 months, it'll show you the upcoming days so you'll know your fertile window and when you're ovulating. That's the time that you go to the movies, that you go visit your friends, that you go to a concert, that you go study. Because if you're home alone and you get that, hey, what's up, you up big head text, then it's going to lead to something else. So what I would advise every young single girl to do, and this is what I do, and honestly it works, is the period tracker app. You also need to have somebody who you can call when you're feeling like that in the car, who can talk to you and distract you for 30, 45 minutes so that by the time you get home, you're home and you're not going to anybody's house and nobody's coming to your house. Honestly, I do this too. I have friends, male and female, depending on what the situation is, that I've called and I said, listen, so is texting me and I'm on the road. I can either take this exit or I can take this exit to my house. And we'll talk about anything, church, God, sports, what's that comic book? Black Panther, anything. And then by the time you get home, you're fine. The horniness has died. And we have to be honest about ourselves, about what we're feeling and what happens when we have these feelings. And I know I'm talking really fast, but the period tracker app will save you.
I learned a lot there. A lot of things. There's a YouTube seminar, I forget the name of the man that I sent you, but from Passion City Church that I think put it the best way, is that your singleness, your season of singleness, is your season for developing your closeness to God, right? You can't develop closeness to God in a relationship. You have to have that relationship before you even get in. Because that, going back to one of the previous questions, that's what helps you focus in that relationship, knowing that both of you are looking towards the same end goal, right? And you're both running in the same direction. But I'm gonna get real like Rachel did too, especially towards the men. Pornography is everywhere. It is everywhere. And whether you have a child that is 9 years old or 29 years old, they've probably seen or interacted with pornography in some way at some point, and you're lying to yourself if you think that's not the case. And the thing about it that, to get to celestial more so, that frustrates me about the church is that I don't think there's an openness for people to communicate and fellowship with the dark struggles that they go through, right? The struggles that you can't, forget telling your parents, you can't even tell some of your best friends, right? And I don't think that the lack of a space for that, the fact that there's a lack of a space for that here, is what leads people to go ask friends, ask this person, ask that person, ask this, ask that, left and right? And until the body of Christ is willing to truly accept everyone, there's and I'm not going to waste time opening it now, but at the end of Galatians, there's a point where Paul said that we have to bear each other's burdens, right? And bear each other's burdens, and also knowing that when we bear each other's burdens, that we shouldn't be haughty and judgmental lest we fear temptation coming to us ourselves, right? And I don't think that is something that we do in this church. And maybe I'm making assumptions with that. But with that being said, but with that being said, to the men here, similar to what Rachel said, is you have to find the people that you fellowship with. You have to. We cannot do it alone. There are friends that are closer than brothers, and a brother that is born for adversity, right? At the end of the day, when we are going through struggles in this world, God put people in our lives to support us for a reason. We have to rely on those people. So I think that it's good that you pay attention to that. And during this season, it's hard. I can tell you to start reading your Bible, doing this, doing that. That is between you and God, how God calls to you and how you reach out to God. But I will tell you this, if you take that time to truly pursue God, to truly learn about this God that you serve, then when it comes to finding the person that you marry, when it comes to raising your children, when it comes to all those things, you're well prepared, you're battle tested, you're prepared to teach the things that you learned in that season. So that is my advice and my recommendation.
Before you do, I want to there's a part B to that question, and I wanted to tie into your answers as well. Excuse me. Where do premarital sex and cohabitation fit into the conversation as a Christian single? Is it okay to indulge, given how relaxed society has become? Does it depend on the situation, or is there a hard rule around this? For instance, if you or your boyfriend or girlfriend feel strongly about wanting to have sex before marriage and you do not, how do you handle the pressure?
So I'll go to, just because we're still on that first question and then the part B, right? Yeah. So go to Song of Solomon 8:4, and it says that women of Jerusalem, I know it says women, but we say women and men, but it says women. So women of Jerusalem, promise not to awaken or excite my feeling of love until it is ready. I like the people that say until it is ready, until love itself is ready. So we have to pay attention to this word love itself. I thank goodness I went to college here. And thank God that I had we're not fiancé, I would say my girlfriend then, before I went to college. And I'm happy I went through that because I can speak from that experience at least. And I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than putting someone who has believed in God all their life and have a girlfriend and put them in a school far away from home, from their girlfriend, where there's a bunch of people that he can have fun with. And so many times I had to kneel down and cry and say, God, what is holding me back from doing what I want to do? And because in my head, I'm like, well, I've only been with this girl all my life. I have opportunity to sleep around. I don't know what she's doing. I'm far from home. But for some reason, there's a force that just pulls me down. I don't know if it's the value that I have. I don't know if it's the God that I serve. But there was just something pulling me back. And I'm happy to say, through those times, I almost fell sometimes. There are times I'm like, okay, you know what, let me just go for it. But my car would not start or something like that. and I just kept going. But one thing that always rings in my head when that ever happened is, if you are in a position, would you be happy that you're thinking this way? And every time I remember that, like, okay, I'm thinking about this, I'm like, what if she's thinking that same way? And you know us men, I get upset, why would she be thinking that way? But I am thinking about it. And every time I get that discussion, I think God just used that to just pinch me a little bit. I see that, and the next thing that happens to me is that I get upset because I can't even imagine her doing that. And because I can't imagine her doing that, I don't do it. So we have to be very careful about that. Then number two, the second part of the question, the idle mind is the devil workshop. It's as simple as that. Wherever you are and the person is, when you start feeling a certain way, the best thing is to move out of that place. Simple. But if you stay longer than that, we know the devil, there is going to be that attraction. Is there a hard rule? I don't think there is one. But is there a rule that we should follow as Christians? Yes. Because breaking up with someone, and I can speak for the young ones too. I know, breaking up with someone you've not slept with is not easy, but it's easier than breaking up with someone you've actually slept with, because the guilt will become, what is wrong? Why me? Am I not good enough? What is the other person giving them? But if you've not slept with them, yes, you still think about those things, but it will not be as painful as you already saying, okay, giving yourself to that person. So in other words, try as much as possible to stay away from it, because if you don't, that regret is much more painful, because now you feel like you've defiled your body and the temple of God in you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. For couples to wait until they get married. Now you see a guy telling you that, oh mom, I need to test this thing before I buy you this thing. And it's everywhere. So I feel it takes the supervision of the parents too, and also marriage counseling. Then the special grace of God, because I feel it's everywhere. That's it.
I would also say that it depends on the kind of company that you keep. If you're in a circle of friends that, they just talk about it casually, do it casually, one day you do it too. Even from high school, junior high school these days, they're getting started very young. One thing that helped me while I was in high school is the friends that I had, they were not really into it. You couldn't hear us, not because we're holy, not because we're anything, but we were just not trying to be stupid. We saw people that, got pregnant easily and all those kind of things, and we really didn't want to be, go down that route. But you also have friends that, it's no big deal, and that is where the little building of your own integrity will stand, if you even have any. You have 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, they have already done more than you can say that you have done, at 20-something. So the kind of company that you keep has a very big impact on your different type of activities that you do. So,
thank you.
Sorry. I believe the point came to me and I forgot about it again. It just came back. Parent, please do not make this mistake. I know we are very strict, and I love the way we raise our children. I do. I'm going to copy my dad, the way he raised me. So we do have a lot of good things. But please do not talk to your parent about these things. I mean, your kids, please talk to them. Because the thing you don't want is for an outsider to talk to them. We shy away from it because that is who we are. And then again, like we said before, after a while we ask the question, where is your husband? His husband doesn't just disappear. So please talk to your children about these things. See them that there's nothing wrong with you talking to them about sex and all these things, because the more you talk to them, the more they're able to open up to you. And you can actually tell them your experience and what you have done. And these children will be able to learn from you. But if you wait for someone outside, to tell them, I'm sorry, you might not like the answer they will bring back.
Thank you. I think we just have time for one final question. So the question is, do you feel Celestial Church of Christ is rightly aligned with the realities of the contemporary youth or single, or do you feel the church is disconnected? Explain why.
I personally feel there's a disconnect in terms of contemporary. Again, being very transparent and honest, I feel that we treat the women as borderline slaves and the men as kings. They cook, they clean, they pack up, they serve, and then the men just pray and talk and laugh, and then when they're done, we come and we clean up after them, and it's not appealing. And it's far from contemporary. I would say it's more, I don't even know what name to call it, but and I don't think it's intentional. But when you look at the day, just on a service, a regular Sunday service, it's very. I want to be treated like a queen. I want somebody to serve me and clean up after me once in a while. Why does it always have to be the women every single time? And now I'm not taking away from Proverbs 31:30 and things of that nature. I do understand it. I believe in gender roles and I understand that. But I have to be honest, as a millennial or Gen X or whatever the title is now, it's not appealing at all.
that piece. Sorry. Oh, you turn up.
Go ahead. Go.
We don't have time.
All right, I'll just say this really quickly. What are we doing to actually encourage the youth beyond, just church, right? We're very focused on, we'll do youth days where people lead service and do things like that. But what do we do to actually interact with the youth and prepare them for the world, right? And talk to them about everything that is not church related, right? To talk to them about even simple things like, okay, education and how to approach, college, how to approach choosing things like that, how to approach relationships and just very real conversations, right? I don't think that they're standard processes, groups, things that we do within the church to actually embrace, teaching and helping mature the youth, right? And I think that when that is done, right, I think that it gives a great route or pathway for further growth, right? And there are lots of other churches out there that do this and do this well, and I think that the more that we can learn from those places about how they institute programs like that, I think the better and more robust the church will be, and the more youth the church will retain, to be honest, as well. And I think that that needs to be a focus if they don't want, kids continually deciding that they don't want to stay here anymore.
Before you answer, Brother Judy, I just want to tie in something else to that question, so maybe you can all consider as it being part of your answer. Where interfaith marriage is concerned, so you have a Celestian who has found the one, and that one happens to be a Muslim or even a Buddhist. Where do you believe there could be a future, or do you believe the church plays some sort of role in dissuading, or parents play some sort of role in dissuading their children from continuing with such a relationship?
For both genders.
Both genders, of course. Go ahead.
So, when it comes to that, you got to ask yourself, right? Are there examples that you can use? We have quite a few examples. Now, in the faith, actually, we can actually use that. Ruth, everybody knows the story of Ruth. Ruth was a Moabite, right? We all know that. And we all know that she ended up marrying Boaz, which happens to be an Israeli. So when we look at that, there are examples in the Bible of people marrying outside their faith and outside their country or comfort zone. And we have to get to a point in our life where we realize that God is not monotonous. It's not one thing. It's not one place. God, you can't explain God. And you cannot force your understanding of God on people. However, you do not know if your child going to the other interfaith, maybe your child is going to bring that soul into the Christian fold. But you not making your child or your child having that opportunity, you've deprived that child of actually winning a soul for Christ. So what am I saying now? Number two is, when those relationships are growing, how do you as a parent, how do you nurture them? Like, I know of people who happen to be different churches, and they both make it work. And they're still strong till today, because the body of Christ is one. But if you start separating it, then I ask, what are we worshiping? So we have to understand what we're worshiping and what we believe in. And for our husbands, for the daddies and mommy out there, and we, the young married kids, I have 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 7. Say, likewise, husband, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heir with you of the grace of life, so that your prayer may not be hindered. The way you treat your partner, the way you treat your wife, the way you treat your fiancé can actually hinder your prayer as a man. And you have to pay attention to that. I'm not making that up because I just read it. Mm-hmm. I just want you to understand that the way you treat a woman is very, very important. Like my sister have said, we are very keen, our mind as young, we copy from our dad. So if our dad is treating our parents, our mother somehow, when we marry, we want that same from our wives. And maybe that is not the right way. So a woman needs to be pampered. I am not ashamed to tell you, sometimes I cook. I'm not ashamed to tell you. Sometimes I'm not ashamed to tell you that I wash dishes. I take care of my kids sometimes when they're going to school. I drop them off. We both have those children. It is our kids. Thank you.
I'll keep mine very quickly. I like to think of it as you know nothing and only God knows, right? You have to, it is so easy to let what you have perceived in life, both from the youth and the parent side, to let that cloud and get in the way of what God truly desires for you. Are you going to be in a situation like Ruth, as we said, or are you going to be in a situation like Isaac, where Abraham told the servant, put your hand under my thigh and make sure to go back to my people to find a wife for me, right? There are so many different situations that at the end of the day, you do not know. You have no idea, right? And that's why it has to come to God first. And every time, like, this is the prayer that I say now, is that, God, I know who I am. I know what my desires are. I know what my emotions are. I know that if someone sings to me a beautiful song, that I'll listen and be like, that girl, her voice, this and that, because I love music. But the thing for me is that the moment that I start to get in front of God, the moment I know that I've already lost the weight, right? And if you put God first there, then if it's a Jewish person that even comes to your door, and this person, in all of their actions and everything that they do, embodies Christ more than the Christians that you yourself know, well, maybe God is trying to do something there, but you're not going to be receptive of it. You can't see what God is doing in your life if you've already closed your eyes from God speaking to you in the first place, right? So I think that everyone just has to make sure that they're putting God first in those situations, right? And always going back to it and always trying to kill yourself and let God, let Christ take precedence, right? Because that, I think, will guide everyone's steps. And the way that you'll know, and the way that I perceive that I know, is there will be peace. Where Christ is, there is peace. And not the peace where, oh, we're not going to argue. Not the peace that, oh, we're going to always get along, this and that. But the peace that my brother alluded to before, that no matter what happens, I know that everything will work out. That no matter what happens, I know that Christ is in this, right? And I think that is, like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, that the peace that they had in that fire. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yes, I feel getting married to another faith depends on love, the understanding, the communication, and the friendship within the couples. We all know couples now, they tend to have issues when it comes to faith. We've seen Muslims getting married to Christians, and at the long run, probably the Muslim guy is like, hey, we are married now, pack your load and come to the mosque. You know, all these things happen, but I just feel it takes the grace of God, and it takes marriage counseling to let these couples know that it's the same God. It's one God, but on a different faith. That's all.
As far as me and I'm concerned, Jesus is a deal breaker. I appreciate everything that everybody said, but when I'm discouraged, I don't want anybody to talk to me about Allah or pull out a Torah or start chanting because they are a Buddhist. I want you to encourage me with the love of Christ. That's me. And although I understand what, Brother Jide, Brother Femi, and Mikey over here said, I can't reconcile it. Because it's just where my faith is, and Jesus is everything to me. I can't even imagine wanting to pray and he's doing something else and I'm doing something else. And the thing that comes to my mind is that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And the grace of God and peace and blessings to anybody who chooses to marry outside of the faith. However, that is not a prayer point for myself.
Thank you.
It just goes back to if it is the will of God. If he has a plan that, you're going to win a soul because this person is an atheist that he wants you to marry, it's because he has a plan. But if you just want to marry someone out of, that is not a Christian just because, and you're hoping that you'll change them, you're hoping that will work, then it may lead to disaster as well. It also has to do with understanding of each other. Even two people in the same denomination, they have quarrels about the smallest thing. So if you're saying that I'm praying this way, we pray this way, is already an issue. Or, I like to sing this way, we like to sing that way, it's already an issue. So understanding and making sure that it is in God's will, that's what is most important.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're going to use 1 or 2 minutes to take questions from the audience. So does any
I have a question.
Okay.
This is for Sister. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just wanted to ask, do you think Celestia as a whole does enough to foster the opportunity for celestial singles to find each other? And if, dang, Gina, and if no, what would you do differently?
We do not do enough for singles. Okay, they say we don't do anything. Even basics, just as Bible study, you can't find it. So where do you want to now find a singles or marriage ministry that's actually functioning, that's working, that okay? And even in that church, do you see examples of married couples that are together and are happy? It's very rare. Even shepherds, you're looking at their marriage as well. How many do you see that, oh, this is an example that I can follow? So one thing that I think we can do probably is gatherings like this. It's not enough for me to see, one guy that I think looks handsome at one harvest, or I saw one picture on Instagram of one guy that looks good. That's not enough. So probably gatherings, being able to go to different parishes and mingle together, even if it's the smallest event, being able to see different faces, different states. That way you can see an array of people. There's people in, Seattle and places that do not have a Celestial Church of Christ, but there's Celestians there. But because we don't know, so probably just some type of networking, gathering. That's one way we can develop this kind of, structured event.
Thank you so much. I think there's one more question from the audience.
Hallelujah. 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 First of all, I want to congratulate this great region for doing such a very terrific job under the leadership of our awesome father, the HOD. Please clap for the man of God. First of all, I'm going to just religion. So the syllabus was based on the Torah, Quran, and the Bible. So, what we're discussing now kind of brought back that memory. Now, there's a lot of challenges when it comes to interfaith marriage, or better yet, cultural marriage. I'm an Isha man. My wife is Igbo. We both speak Yoruba. So let me just start from that front. So, how do we raise our kids? 4 beautiful children. Now, she speaks Igbo. I speak Isha. We both speak Yoruba. I don't understand Igbo. She doesn't understand Isha. And we both speak Yoruba. And then, of course, there's English, which is the language of this country. Now, how do you balance that? That is very complicated to begin with. And we try to teach our children Igbo. I'm trying to teach them Isha. And then also, we both speak Yoruba and then English. So the reason I'm saying that, let us also exploit those intricacies as far as intercultural relationships concerned. There's chaos right there, number one. And number two, let's go back to the interfaith. Now, how do you then raise your children? How comfortable is it? How feasible is it? How doable is it? How possible? Now, I'm trying to raise my children. I'm praying, and then there's something like Allahu Akbar, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Not serious, are you chanting Torah? So that's what is called, mass call it alienation in sociology, but we're not going to go there. Now, there is our children, there's every propensity that the children get alienated. So how do you then realign the children? How do you balance that? So how do you teach your children? And then they say, please just give me this opportunity. Please, we're all learning. So don't think for yourself. God bless you. So please enjoy. This is very 1 second, sir. So what I'm trying to say is that now in a situation like this, how do you raise your children? And there's a popular thing about the Islam, opening lesson, that women are not supposed to be married to their husband and their religion. How do you do that? So is it okay to take me out of my religion because for the sake of marriage? So how do you balance that? Thank you. Clap now.
Hallelujah. And this is one of the biggest problems in relationship for most people, right? One of the biggest problem. You might love somebody that is not from your faith. Why did Mordecai decide that he was going to help Esther get her ready, all for her to marry the king? At the end of the day, she was one that was able to save her people. It is not going to be easy, and no marriage, whether you're married to a Christian like yourself, we've seen some that are in hell, earthly hell, in their marriage, even though they are married to the same faith. So, to answer your question, sir, it's very hard for anybody to give you a direct answer to that question, but it is only God that knows the way and that knows how that relationship will work out. I have a friend that I grew up with. His father, and just as I was saying, sir, his father is Christian. His mom, Muslim. I don't know how they raised them, but they come out as wonderful kids. Even if you train a kid, the Bible said, train up in a child the way that he, not you want him to grow the way he should go. And when he grows up, he will not do what? Depart from it. I can tell you, if you're a Christian, you go to select. If your child grows up, I want to be a Muslim, there's nothing you can do. Because who knows what the direction God is trying to take that child. So what am I trying to say? There's no perfect answer. I can't really answer it. However, when there is love, something else is bigger than you. And God himself will direct that path.
That is the conclusion of this particular panel, because unfortunately, as exciting as it is, we have run out of time. So once again, if you give a huge round of applause to our panelists.
Thank you very much. John, can you put a picture up?
I'll draw some pictures of some women.
There's one thing I took from this panel. It is that love or beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I want to show you two pictures. If you can put it up. And also, while we're waiting for the pictures, do you see this man and the bride? I show the other picture, and they're beautiful. I've never seen a love like this. You know, you see them on their wedding day. That man, as far as she's concerned, is the most handsome man in the world. That is true love. At this point, they talk about sex before marriage. We have here some gifts for some people. There's this book that we run into, it's called The Weight. It's not talking about virginity, because some of our women, for whatever reason, they've been deflowered either by accident or by whatever, you know. But even then, when you start to date somebody, this book is talking about celibacy during a relationship. So we'd like to give these two books to somebody. And I need the moderator to give me a number between 1 and 152. Any number. The moderator of this panel. 7. Number 7. I need another number from one of the panelists. 37. 7 and 37 will announce the winner very soon. So we are going to the next, I think we will take about 2 minutes to hand over hand water to people while the Prophetess Ayodeji, are you here? Okay. So, we'd like to bring you to the front. She's going to talk about the role of the church in all these things we are hearing. What should Celeste do or should not do? Please let us welcome Prophetess Ayodeji.
Hallelujah.
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 My name is Prophetess Ayoko. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you, everyone, and the organizer of this wonderful event. Thank you very much. Because this is my first time I'll be having this kind of program in Celestial Church. Because when I was young, I was once a Jehovah's Witnesses, and we always have this kind of program coming up, but I haven't been chance to attend this program in Celestial Church, and it's going to be part of what I'm going to discuss. Thank you. Today, the topic before me is the church, the reality of marriage and family. So, and I'm going to start from the beginning of the creation. So, I want to bring us back to when God first created Adam and Eve. But God created Adam first by molding him, and he breathed into him, and Adam became a living thing. But when God created Eve, Eve was created in a different way. And I can tell you, I'm not made of dust, I'm made of my husband, because I'm bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. Because God put Adam to sleep. Because when God created Adam and he created all the animals, and God looked everywhere and he couldn't find someone to match Adam during creation, because in Genesis 2 verse 7, it made me to understand that God looked everywhere and there was no match for Adam, and obviously Adam could not be matched with any of the animals. And God was like, oh, okay, I can't leave Adam to be alone. And God said, okay, that he's going to find him a helper. So, and I want us to underline the word helper, alone, and suitable, because God says that it's not good for a man to be alone. I will make an helper which is suitable for him. So, and in this life, if we want to get married, those are one of those things that we look into. You need an helper and somebody that is suitable to you, which is maybe somebody appropriate for you. And according to one of the panelists, the person made mention that you have to check within yourself that what are your likes and what are your dislikes. So it's probably what are the things that are suitable for you, what are the things that you can bend during marriage, and some things that you can't even take. So during courtship or during your dating, those are the things that you'll be watching out for, that okay, I don't think I can deal with this kind of person, you know, or I think I can tolerate this person. So those are one of those things we want to look into. And marriage as a role, the Bible support marriage, because in the Bible book of Hebrew, I'm going to be quick because they told me I think it's 20 minutes. So God is in support of marriage, and so it's in the book of Hebrew 13:4. So God said that marriage should be honored, and also in Romans 2, it's also talk about marriage. So there is a relationship between marriage, church, and family, because in the first creation, God created Adam and Eve, and he told them to multiply and fill the earth. So that is the blessing of becoming full and having marital vows and everything. So, and also, I will talk about another one that says, does Christian theology have a place in the institution of marriage and modern welfare? Yes, it does have it. And I would say, and that will bring me to also the creation of things where God ordained marriage, that it says that the man will leave his family and he's going to bind with his wife and they will become one. So that is the part that God really is in support of marriage. But we have to look at ourselves and make sure that, who am I going out with? Is it the person that I can tolerate? Is it because marriage is not like it's not I would say it's not a bed of roses. It has ups and downs, but if you have it at the back of your mind that no matter what, I'm going to make this work. And firstly, before you go into marriage, you have to know that you are prepared for this. Do you love the person? If the person hurts you, will you be able to forgive the person? Because number one, forgiveness. If you can't forgive your partner, then you're not ready to go into marriage. Or even normally, if you can't forgive anybody apart from being married, if you don't have the spirit of forgiving, because in marriage, you're going to keep forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. And if you can't forgive, then you're ready to have a breakup in marriage. So you have to make sure that, okay, no matter what my partner do, I'm going to forgive him. And also, you have to also have it at the back of your mind that you have to let this work. Because you don't want to just be like, maybe take for instance now your spouse does something to you, and the next thing you'll be like, oh, I'm so done with this marriage, I'm not going to continue. Because me too, I've been married now for over 10 years, and it's not easy, because sometimes when I sit down, it got to a point that I sat down and I was like, okay, because my husband, he always wronged me one time or the other, but he told me, you never wronged me. I am the only one wronging you. But that's not true, because I sit down too and I'm like, okay, I always wrong this person. Is there a way I can not wrong him again? So when I have that thought in me that, okay, I'm going to let it work. Because every time when he wrongs me and he really pains me, I always say that, okay, you know what? I think I'm so done with this. So one day he called me and he was like, why do you always tell me you're so done, you're so done? And it's not a good thing. So I sat down one day and I said, oh, what he said is so true. How can I be saying I'm so done and it's really hurting his feeling. But when he called my attention to it and I was like, wow, so this thing is really, really hurting this person, then I'm going to make sure I'm not saying it again. So we should be prepared in our mind that marriage is not going to be sweet every time. But with God in your marriage, you have to be prayerful. Then another thing is communication, which is the key in marriage. Because if you, like me, because this is a marriage symposium and everybody is learning from each other. So I would say communication is the key. Because if your spouse is hurting you and you can't say it out that, okay, whatever you did, I don't really like it. And you keep building a lot of stuff up, one day you're gonna like blow up and be like, this is the end of it. But when you communicate every now and then, okay, this is what you do that I don't like, okay, where are you now? Where are the kids? You know, then everything will go on smoothly. Like the other day that I went to get some grocery. So I didn't call him that, oh, I'm going to the grocery store. Because when that happened, I was like, he even said it. He said, this is the lack of communication right there. Because I went to get some grocery, and I got back, I brought the whole thing up. It took me like 2 hours to bring the whole thing up. And the next thing, he called me and said, oh, bring the kids downstairs because they have some grocery to get. I'm like, oh, I just got back from grocery. He said, okay, that is the importance of communication. Because we were able to communicate with each other at that point that, oh, I'm stopping at the grocery store, then I'll be a little bit late, then that wouldn't have happened. So communication is one of the important things in marriage. Then love, then you have to have faith in God too, that, okay, God is going to make this happen. So, and I'm going to include Celestial Church too in this because it's part of it. It said the doctrines and tenet of Celestial Church. Does it place undue duress on the relationship and marriage? I would say the tent and mode of Celestial Church doesn't really place any undue duress on relationship and marriage. Because while I was young, I think from age 2 to age, let me say like 13, yes, I was a Jehovah's Witnesses. And then while growing up, you all know the Jehovah's Witnesses, like they go everywhere and preach the gospel. So they train us from the beginning that this is what you need to know, this is what you need to preach. You mustn't marry out, you mustn't have kids out of wedlock. The moment you do that, you'll be disfellowshipped. you mustn't do this. We have like rules and regulation binding us, and that keep us straight. But since I've been in Celestia, there is no rules. I don't know if there is rules somewhere, but I haven't seen any rules and regulations guiding us in Celestia, because I've seen even, like, you can't even bring your problem to the pastor, because the pastor that you want to bring your problem to is dating one of the church members. And you'll be like, oh my goodness, is it this pastor I want to go tell that, oh, my husband is a cheat or something? Because your pastor is already cheating on the wife. And that I don't see when I was in Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, the moment you mess up, they will like throw you out of the church, because they don't want you to like pollute every other member. It's not a good thing, because it's good and it's not good. It's good in the sense that, you know, when you have there is a Bible part that says if there is no law, then there is no sin. But when there is law and you've sinned against the law, then you should be able to face the consequences. So in Celestial Church, there is a lot of like fornications going on that they need to like copy. It's too much, I can tell you, because when I was a witness, you know, we have a lot of things guiding us. We don't go to birthday. The moment you get caught, you get this fellowship. You don't do so many things. And the grand thing they do is wedding ceremony. Like, I could only say that so I left Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 13. Because, you know, my mom, she was a Celestial before. You know, when you have problems, when everything is being rosy for you, and you discover that, oh, I think I'm good now, then you left Celestial. Then you now have the whole world on top of your head, then you come back to Celestial again. So that was what happened. So we came back to Celestial when I was 13 or so. Then since then I've been in Celestial. I love being in Celestial Church. I can never worship anywhere else except Celestial Church. But the only thing is we need to we need to like get together like this, whereby we can talk about the pros and cons of Celestial Church, that okay, we want our church to be better. We want, when we get out there, we want to have a good image of Celestial Church. So I wanted to say something that since I've been in Celestial Church, I've only attended like just one wedding ceremony. It's not like we don't do weddings, we do, but we don't really carry the way we're supposed to. Unlike other churches that they know that before you get married, you go see your pastors, you have what's it called? Counseling. Yeah, exactly. You have counseling, and they'll talk to you about marriage, and your pastor will tell you, have you prayed about it? Do you think this person is the person that you think you can spend your life with? You know, they'll counsel you and all those things. I haven't an opportunity to experience that in Celestia. So those are the things that we need to incorporate in Celestial Church. So by so doing, then the youth coming up, they will have a lot of people, like me now in my church. I think we have a lot of family members that sometimes I'm even shy that my husband is with the crowd too. We know we come to church together. We're trying to build our family with the kids so that they will know that it's good to be together. But a lot of people from my, like, I'm not really using that to like maybe wrong them or something. You know, it's very rare to see couples together in Celestial Church. Is it that you see the mom just bringing the kids or the father just bringing the kids? You know, we want family together to come to church with the kids so that the kids will know that, okay, this is what needs to be done. Like, it's not like, okay, the father will be home maybe watching ball and be like, I don't want to come to church today. No, then the next week is going to, you know, we want Celestia to, maybe from the top, they need to start mending it from the top, then it's going to get to worse. But the youth now, I think everybody is like, oh, they've been, how would I put it? They're learning now, and a lot of youth are like making sure that they don't fall into the same trap that some old ones have already fallen into. So having said that, then okay. So lastly, what I would say is they said, is the church out of touch where relationship and marriage is concerned? And it's still the same thing. Yes, the church is out of touch where relationship and marriage is concerned. It is because, as I've said earlier, I want somebody that if I want to call my pastor that, okay, my husband did this to me, and I can't even call him because even he's going to feel guilty because he's going to tell me, like the answer he's going to be giving me, I'll be thinking at the back of my mind that this person answering me. The other week I saw him with a lady coming out from some, I don't want to have that belief in me. So the church is out of touch. We want to look up to our elders and make sure that they're doing things right. It's not like other churches, they don't have their backside too. They do have it, but it's not as rampant as it is in Celestial Church, I can tell you. So maybe because of the grace we have, because they'll say, no, we have to be well behaved too, so that a lot of people out there, it's not like those churches, they don't do the same. They do, but we don't want every time it's Celestia. No, we want to represent Celestia outside in a very good way. So I think with that, my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I'm ready to announce the winner of the free gift. The weight. And I have Sheye Onsu from Restoration Parish. And I have Ade Koya Toyi from Ileri Oluwa. You have to be in the hall to win it. She's not here. Somebody scan her in. Thank you, sir. All right. Can the moderator give me another number?